Dear Anglosphere, hey, hello. Thanks for joining me. How are you doing? This is KAMİL Kartal. I'm doing fine, happy meeting you. And please accept my apologies for the live streaming plan which failed due to some technical reasons beyond me. Perhaps it was the eyes of the Queen, who knows. Yet it's not a big deal because you already waited for a millennium. Now, just for a couple of minutes, I should underline some basics to establish a clear and sustainable communication. Please bear with me. This is for non-English speakers. Altyazıları yayından kısa süre sonra videoya ekleyeceğim. Daha güvenilir bir otomatik çeviriyi sanırım yarından itibaren kullanabilirsiniz. Bu yayının bir de Türkçesini yakında yapacağım. Fakat onun içeriği biraz daha genişletilmiş olacak sanırım. Acele etmeyin. Sorry. First of all, the text version of my talk will be uploaded at the Sun Language Academy website soon. You can check it from time to time for updates and enhancements. Details are in the description. And of course, I recommend you subscribe to my YouTube channel, turn on notifications for new shows, and also get registered to the Sun Language Academy website, which is also in the description. Secondly, I'm planning to continue this series every Friday at the same hours my time, and I decided to keep this premiere as quick and challenging for you as possible in order to see your feedback, which in return would enable me to better plan the content of next sessions. And this is just the work of this week, Tuesday and Wednesday, but 25 years of a varied journey is underlying behind those 2 days. I hope the next sessions will be better. Last but not least, please keep in mind that what you will see throughout all sessions are part of a larger and ongoing work. However, it's quite sufficient and convincing enough at this level to give you a true idea on the topic. This premiere is of a series on the hidden and therefore unknown aspects of English language, and I assure you that it will be the first of its kind. Sorry. It's really hot nowadays, sorry. I am addressing on one hand the whole peoples of Anglosphere, and on the other hand, specifically the top language authorities of Anglosphere, namely Her Majesty, the President, of course the Pope as well, for the Catholic Church has always been deeply involved with this artificial diversification processes, relevant departments of the United Nations and ISO and other high authorities in related ministries, institutions and universities of Anglosphere. While addressing you, the tone of my voice may sound friendly in general, and at some points very formal, like a high-level warning. Hope you will easily distinguish or not get stuck in the tone where needed. When the letter comes, that is the warning tone, it's actually not for likes or dislikes of anyone, and I know my counterparts will take it as they should. We will talk about the hidden and unknown sides of the English language, and we will have a look at some very striking connections between English and Turkish languages. it does have a potential to trigger you start asking reasonable questions. And of course, the top addressees of this series would pretend playing three wise monkeys for some time, but it will be in vain. Also, this would cause some plagiarism issues as well, designed over some public but waste characters of Anglosphere, claiming ownership on the idea and the material, but most probably they would panic in a hysterical behavior mode and clumsily try to distort the original idea, the truth, right in the opposite sense for Indo-European language doctrine, which will also be in vain. This premiere is also an invitation for all interested parties from the world of language makers, that is, linguists, but particularly an invitation for etymologists and lexicographers who are at the heart of this business. I am quite ready and willing to welcome any questions, comments, concerns, rejections, counter opinions, or even perhaps participation requests for next sessions, provided that they are not driven by non-scientific ideologies of the establishment. Please. This is not an offense, so no need for a defense or a counter-attack. I will of course not welcome any accusations of that sort, as if my claims are mostly based on nationalistic views. They are not. Such accusations are well-known tactics to cover up the principal crime by the baiter himself. And I will also not buy any folk etymology kind of put-down maneuvers as well. Mathematics and science are in the heart. There is no room for such primitive accusations or humiliation. So parts of this series would sound like entertaining and educational word games for you, for some of you. However, what we will see at the end on the table is gonna be a huge unpaid invoice on the side of Anglosphere as the debtor. General peoples of the Anglosphere have nothing to do with this enormous debt crisis, so they don't need to panic. It is, however, for sure the responsibility of language makers of Anglosphere, and they are not only obliged to pay this unpaid invoice in cash and in full, but they are also obliged to stop now the strategy of dividing and alienating peoples against each other by building new nations on fabricated and stolen languages and then conquering their lands, slaving and terminating them. They should know that their days are over now. Their empires and thrones are over now. Their fake and false histories have come to an end now. And I know what I'm saying. Yes, now. Because all words in English language are fake and were stolen by a handful of missions of a dark order, which we call by the name the Darknet language, guarded behind high walls and towers beyond reach for 1,000 years. Yet those who built and run this system, this deceitful system, didn't know its vulnerabilities and that the system will someday be collapsed, will someday eventually be penetrated and collapse. And yes, this is the day. Okay, if you are ready, let's start. Dear friends, you are all speaking a terribly corrupted version and a fake and fabricated dialect of Turkish language, and no one told this reality to you until now. But no worries, no matter what, because you're still speaking Turkish, which simply means you are not Brits or Americans. That's why I say Her Majesties and the President are among the top of my addressees in this talk, and why this topic has a high potential to trigger some worldwide tensions and discussions. The point here is calling you to a different awakening because your original identities were stolen, and this was done just by simple anagram games. Moreover, it's still being done, and just in the same way. We are of course not talking about a list of English words of Turkic origin, such as Han, Hakan, Kangal, dolma, baklava, yogurt, etc. We are talking about the full content of the Oxford English Dictionary and its latest edition with some 600,000 words. I cannot tell you the whole story or answer all your comments and questions at once, but we will discuss on some key matters in the next sessions in terms of acoustics and solar science, the original language of our planet Earth, vibrations, resonances, electromagnetic waves, frequencies, or the effects of sound on matter, and perhaps even some ancient mysteries such as the tuning fork of ancient Egyptians or Ark of the Covenant and so on. We will also talk about the forgotten past of the indigenous Scottish, Gaelic, Cornish, Welsh, Irish tribes before the invasion, about Germanic, Latino, Italic, Iberic indigenous tribes of Europe. We will, of course, talk about the true past of the Native American peoples and their original language before the so-called discovery of the New World lies in the next sessions.